We're done building the project. Now it's time to render the main view to disk. For that, let's go back to the Render task mode. Expand the Render Jobs category and open the Island Render Job. A render job is comprised of a camera and render options. It can also use render scenarios. Render jobs allow you to render different camera views with different render options. The default render job is already set up for the main camera, so let's take a look at its render options. Edit the render options to open the render options editor. We're set for a 640 by 480 image size and a pixel aspect ratio of 1. We don't have to worry about the frame range because we're rendering a single image, not a series of animation images. Go to the File Output page where we specify the type of file to save. Add Output Event to add a file type. Ping is the default format added to the Output Events list. We can change this with the Format dropdown, but Ping is a good choice because it's got small size and high quality. The default file name is based on the project name and is saved in the WCS Frames folder. VNS will overwrite a saved file by the same name, so rename old files or choose a new file name when rerunning render jobs. Let's create another render job. It will be the same, except we'll turn off 3D Object Tower rendering with a render scenario. Right-click the Island Render job in the See at a Glance and clone component. Rename it No Tower and enter. It will render the same main camera, but will use another render option to give it a unique file name. Select the Island Render option. Expand the render options. We want the Island Render option in See at a Glance and clone it. Rename it No Tower. Turn to the File Output page and change the image file to No Tower. The last component we need is a render scenario. It will turn off the 3D Object High Tension Tower render time. Double-click the Render Scenarios category in the See at a Glance to create one and open its editor. Rename it, you guessed it, No Tower. Change this scenario to Disables Items. Go to the Control page and select 3D Objects from the Add New Items of this class drop-down list. Click Grab All of this type to add all 3D objects to the Controlled Items list. We could have used the Add Item, but Grab All requires fewer steps when there's only one object. To control the No Tower render job with this render scenario, expand the Render Scenarios category in the See at a Glance and click and drag the No Tower scenario to the No Tower render job. So click and drag scenario to No Tower render job, let go. VNS wants you to confirm it. No Tower to No Tower? Yep. Meanwhile, back in the No Tower Render Job editor, when you get a bunch of editors stacked up on each other, the easy way to bring one forward is just to go up to the Window menu item and find it in the list here. We want the Render Job editor right there. And we want to change the render options, now that we've created new ones, to No Tower. So the No Tower render job will render the main camera using the no tower render options and the no tower scenario. Open Render Control from the icon toolbar and make a last check of the camera options and save fields. The island render job will render the main camera using the island render options and will save images. The no tower render job renders the same main camera, but it uses the no tower options, but it also saves images. Go to start rendering. If you'd like to watch the full-size render in progress and don't mind slowing VNS down, check Show Rendering. There we have the no tower render job output. If you'd like to see the tower render output, you can go ahead and view image from disk, and by default it will bring up the WCS frames folder, and here you can pick out the island ping, and there is the island from the island render job, and then here is our view without the tower.